It's Pommy here, Blue Abroad, and I don't know about anyone else, but I am super excited. I cannot wait for 2020 to start. So with that being said, we know that I like to fiddle with data and play a little bit of maths. What I did is I had a bit of fun with TPI, and as we're in the preparation stage, so I can bring you guys some really good analysis of what happens in the counting season. It also has an element of prediction about it. So what I thought it would be fun to do is go back in the off season to when records first began, have been formulated, to the last 2 decades, and create an algorithm so we can maybe predict 2020. Now, it did 2019 pretty successfully with the Brownlow. If you follow the Brownlow coverage, we know that I got quite excited. So what I thought I'd do is we'd have a look and see what this season's in store. So we've got like kind of a nice broad appeal. So we'll go to the first slide here, and here we are. So this is the final standings according to TPI. Now, it ran this software over 10,000 times. So this is its correlated average. And as we can see here, this is the top 8 as it stands. Now, Collingwood were, it surprised me this, they were the standouts in the regular season. Richmond, Geelong, West Coast, Doggies, GWS, Essendon unfortunately made the 8, and Brisbane, many predicted to do a Melbourne this year, they actually hang on, and you can see there's some really good 8, and for me, I think that'll be in and around the 8. I was quite happy with that. I think some key notes for Carlton fans is we finish 11th. Now, I've been saying 10th all year, and we're in and around there. There were some good results actually there, and the Richmond game was a real closely fought. There was a big improvement in scoring. We'll come more on to Carlton later in the video, but it was a really good season for Carlton. There was a real good mixed bag, and it's a real good grounding for where many people think in 2021 will be our year to make the 8. You can see we were in and around the 8, which is really important for Carlton. Hawthorn and Patton was quite interesting. He had a really good year for Hawthorn, really back end. He really found some form and really fired them some big key victories. Melbourne look like they're back in the go. Now, a lot of people are talking about Adelaide and the South Australian contingency. See, Port were the best of the Adelaide bunch. It is predicting Adelaide to struggle, and I did think North Melbourne as well. It predicts North Melbourne are going to be a bit of a struggling point this year as well. And when you look at the depth of North Melbourne, you can see why. It really is Ben Brown or nothing. So for me, it was quite interesting. Ben Brown actually got injured 63% in the simulation in round 17. It really did cause them huge issues. Gold Coast, they pick up 3 wins. I think that's about fair for where Gold Coast are, but there is a slide coming up that you'll see with Gold Coast. They had some really good performers, and the future is bright for Gold Coast there. St Kilda, a team that many people think drafted well. Well, it didn't really cohese this year for them. They had a good start, but they kind of tailed off. It was very similar to Gold Coast last year. They had a really good breakout start, and then it faded away. But yeah, that's how the table looks, and we can see going on to the final series there, the qualifying and the elimination finals. Collingwood, they lost to the Eagles at the G. Doggies beat Brisbane. GWS beat Essendon, and Richmond beat Geelong. And there you are. You see, we're like culminating in the grand final there of the Eagles versus Richmond, which for me is a real big one there. Like that's a good final, that, and that's the final that we won. And Elliot Yeo took out the Norm Smith. He had a really good game, 32 touches, 8 tackles and a goal there. So he had a really solid final. So it's predicting that West Coast will bring home the Premiership this 2020. Now, if we look at Carlton's players, it's really interesting, I thought, that when I looked at the Carlton team, that there's a lot of key performers there. Now, SPS there, he nearly played a full allotment of games. McKay, Cripper, obviously, in everything. Plowman, Wheater in. And they were staples of the Carlton side. And you can see there that Wheater was actually on the precipice. He actually made the 40 on the simulation of the All-Australian. I'll show you the full team in a second. There was a few injuries there. Curnow never quite got right. We didn't see Curnow emerge till about round 8. Williamson, he got some games in, did fairly well there with a 6.5. Philp, he actually was deployed at half-back flank. As you can see there, Simo in the simulation, it looked like there was a big turning point around round 12 that Teague, according to the TPI, started to blood the youngsters. And Philp really slotted in down that half-back flank, back pocket role really well. Actually popped up with a goal, which is really important. Josh Honey made his debut in the final round. He actually kicked a goal, got a decent amount of touches. So obviously it's saying that a year with Betts, it's really developed his game. Levi had pretty much the same type season that we always expect. Was kind of like, the bit part player. Filled in when he did and did really well there. Spent a lot more time interchanging as the second ruckman, because we can see it's predicting here that Cruiser had another injury erupted season, which I don't think we can argue. But some real standouts for us is Jack Martin. Jack Martin tore it up. 20 games, just under 18 touches and 22 goals off the half forward flank. He looked a real part, and it meant that we didn't miss Curnow so much. It's kind of tried to mould the game plan on what it's seen, which is a very direct ball use, very quick movement. And traditionally that would suit a player like Jack Martin. Betts was just his tremendous self, 33 goals coming off 18 games. And I think one thing that made my cockles warm was seeing Sam Doherty there. 23.7 touches, he really dominated there. Really dominated. He again made the All-Australian 40 in his first year, which we can only hope that's there. But there's some really good things there as well. You can see Stocker got some games into him. TDK, we saw him a bit. And it was a good spread. Like, you look at that spread there of players. If that kind of happened at the end of the year, you'd be happy with that, because that's quite a good spread of a lot of games. And you can kind of see a cultural shift from the old veterans to the youth starting to step up. And there's some really good numbers there. I mean, Zach Fisher's another one who really excelled on the outside position in the 11 games he played, started to find the scoreboard. Now the winners, obviously no surprise, Cripper was first in the simulation of our BNF. Second was Wheatering, and third was Martin, which is really exciting for Carlton fans. I think that we're going to get a core player and someone who's going to make an impact straight away. And I think this will be thereabouts. I wouldn't say put your hat on it, but I'm quite confident. I thought this was a very good simulation. I looked at the numbers. A lot of them fit into the criteria of what would happen in an AFL season, which is really exciting. So now for the end of the year, Tim Kelly is literally a superstar, and he really dominates at West Coast, really suits that play, with Yeo being the tough body, Gaff being the distributor. Kelly really gets into a role where he can shine, and he was a real standout for them. Dustin Martin finished second in the Brownlow, and Cripper 1 vote shy in third. He had a real dominant season. However, been harping on about this a long time. Walsh picked up votes. There was Wheatering picked up votes. Curnow, Murphy. The boys, and particularly Setterfield, had a really strong year from his 16 games. Really, really, really starting now to be a combined effort. And you actually saw Cripps score quite often. Really started to become that more pivotal role. So moving into 2021, according to the simulation, Cripps is in a really good point to break out, as he's added that dynamic side of his game. He no longer has to stay on the ball being the mule. There's players stepping up there, which is really exciting for Carlton. Rising star, Isaac Rankine really took it out. He was the real standout for Gold Coast. Played all the games but one, 21 games, averaging 19 touches and averaging over a goal a game. He really, really shone there in that role. It was kind of like a Connor Rosie type year for him, and it was quite exciting to see in the simulation. He really does stand out. And for anyone who remembers his draft year, the year just gone, and the highlights, this guy's got X Factor. Max King, really, my wife, big St Kilda fan, she's pinning her hopes on this being the next Riewoldt. He really did shone towards the back end of the year, and he picked up a lot of fans in that aspect, and he looked really strong moving forward. So St Kilda, Max King really, really did shine for you. And Matt Rowell, probably many people's bookies' favourite to win. Often when you pick one, you are. He had a good year, solid year, 21.8, so not bad from a losing side. So he did really well. He finished in the top 3. And the Coleman medal, Tom Lynch, Cameron and Hawkins. Lynch was on fire and dominant, and good top 3. Hawkins had a bit of a resurgence as well. Geelong had very limited injuries this year as well, so they had a full strength team moving forward. And the All-Australian was super exciting. We had Stuart Andrews Keefe from the Doggies, just recently moved. He finally broke in. Whitfield, McGovern and Hearn was the captain. Dunkley, Cripper and Kelly in the mid. Your followers, Grundy, Fife and Treloar. Treloar had a standout year. If you remember, Collingwood finished top of the ladder. He was pivotal. Dustin Martin, Tom Lynch and Coggy. Cameron and De Goey. De Goey was another who really shined this year for him. And McRae, Gaff, Gawn and Neil are the interchange, and we followed the AFL's model of picking best available and squeezing them in there. So there's a few you could maybe argue, a lot of midfielders on the interchange, but if you've ever seen the All-Australia, they don't pick a squad that would play. They pick, try and get their best 22 in. So, I mean, that's the season. It was really exciting. Carlton obviously have a successful season, successful year, and moving forward, that's what we can hopefully give you a bit of a base. So that was TPI, that was the season review. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, please feel free to flick them my way. But let's get on to the real stuff coming soon. But thanks very much, guys. Dan out.